Hi, people. How are you? We are going to be live tonight talking about divorce rage. Let me go ahead and invite everybody in. And you all know I cannot do too many things at once. So I.
Okay.
All right. Oh, hi. Thank you for joining us. Hello. Thank you so much for being here. Hi.
Hi. Hi, everybody. It's so good to see you.
All right. I'm going to invite Alex. Hello, Bethany. How are you?
Hello, my friend. How are you?
I'm good. I'm a little scatterbrained this evening, but it's gonna be fine.
It's going to be great.
Yes.
Hi, Tanya. Hi, call me Aisha.
Hi.
Hello. Hey.
Hi.
Hello,
How
lady.
are you?
I'm so good,
It's
Hillary and Bethany. It's so good to see you.
it's so good to see you. It's been a while.
I know it's been way too long. I'm glad we're doing.
hmm Oh my gosh, me too. You were like, I remember when you invited us to be live on your show, like what was it, like last spring or something?
Yeah,
I think it might have been like one of our
I think it
first
was
lives
last
that we
fall. I think it was
or
last
last
fall.
fall. Okay, okay, yeah. Yeah, we were like so pumped. So it's just, I don't know, it's just like having this experience again feels really full circle. So it's so cool.
I'm very happy to be here, and I was excited. I was one of the first people to have you on an IG live, so like that's major props for me.
Oh,
You're so
here you
sweet.
go. No, like you
Yeah.
believed in us. You believed in us and in community. And so that's, you've for that, you are a ride or die from the start.
Yes,
Love.
for
I'm
sure.
so
Yeah.
happy. Thanks for inviting me for this conversation. I love that we're talking about rage.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh my God. Because it's such part of the divorce experience, right? And not everybody's comfortable talking about it or
Yeah.
addressing it in a way that's somewhat, I don't know if productive is the right word, but I don't know. It just, I feel uncomfortable sometimes talking about it myself. So I can see how it's like a taboo subject
Right.
in
Oh,
some cases,
especially for
like
women.
most things with divorce.
Yeah, no, especially for women. I mean, we've been raised to see any kind of anger from a woman be completely tamped down and shamed. Like,
Yes.
oh, you can't feel that way. You're too much.
Yeah,
You're too emotional, all that kind of stuff. And the truth is, like, you feel rage for a reason, and it's up to you to
absolutely.
find that.
Right.
Yes,
Right. And it's
absolutely.
not something to just push away either. I mean, which is one of the things that I learned in therapy early on, is that like I was like, oh, I don't want to be angry. I shouldn't be angry. And my therapist was like, imagine you're in a car with all of your emotions and like anger is sitting in the passenger seat. And then like, I don't know, sadness is in the back along with like anxiety.
Mhm.
They can all be in the car with you, but they can't have the keys. They can't drive you know
Yeah,
and I was like, it was like a major light bulb moment, like, oh my gosh, yes, that makes so much sense. Like anger is with me on this journey. And the post that we did yesterday about anger, it was interesting. Some of the comments, people were like, they feel like it's not really talked about enough. Like with
hmm
divorce, people associate sadness and like you're depressed. And of course, we also know there's great joy with being divorced for some, but anger absolutely. So thank you for joining us for this conversation. Everybody that is here, thank you for joining again. Alex Beatty, the divorce planner, she's one of our absolute favorite friends, hardworking, always keeps it 100.
yes,
And so she's just a gem. If you're not following her, you need to follow the dot divorce dot planner. And she's on TikTok, she's on YouTube, and again, she's like our spirit friend because
yes.
we both really believe strongly in having tools and resources. And so this conversation ideally will be one of those tools. But we're gonna have fun. We're gonna start with some rapid fire questions Hillary has for us, and
I
then
do.
we're
I'm
going
excited.
to so Alex, you and I will just like alternate, in answering the questions that she gives us. You always go first since you're the guest, and then we'll get into like real questions, and we'll also take questions from all of our peeps because that's the best part.
Yes, it is.
I'm ready.
All right, are you guys ready? And I might even pop in with some answers. But it's funny because before I start, when Bethany and I were chatting about these questions, I was like, "Ooh, I'm a little uncomfortable with some of these. Like, like they're kind of difficult to answer because anger is an emotion that I have struggled with for many, many years, especially throughout my divorce, and that kind of brought it to a head. But anyways, so I think they're gonna be interesting. So, all right, I'm gonna ask the first question. What's something small that makes you irrationally furious every time?
Okay, this is such an easy one for me to answer. When
Okay.
I call customer service and I can't get a person for like
Oh
40,
my gosh.
that menu makes it makes me nuts, and it makes me feel like it's personal. I know it's not personal, but I can't help it. It's infuriating.
Yeah, I imagine if I was in hell, I would have to like keep contacting customer service for something. You know what I mean? Like I would be stuck in one of those menus
Yeah, for sure.
forever.
For me, it's definitely when I'm driving and okay, someone is not in okay, the passing lane. Okay, so first of all, the passing lane is not universally the passing lane in the US. I don't know. I don't know how this works in like Scotland and Australia or anything like that. But in the US, where I grew up, the leftmost lane is for passing, meaning like you're speeding, maybe you want to go above the speed limit at some level, but when people are going below the speed limit or at the speed limit in that lane, even though even now in Maryland, it's not illegal there's no passing lane. There's no technical passing lane in Maryland, but I don't care. That is to me a universal understanding. And I have the absolute rage when people are there like, like
Oh,
holding
I know,
things up.
like driving Miss Daisy or something.
Yes,
Like,
I
what are you
can't
doing?
take it. I can't
Yes,
take it. But road rage is not socially acceptable, so I just have to tamp it down.
yes.
Hmm.
Oh, it's
Oh,
the
it's
rightmost lane in Australia. Okay. All right.
fascinating.
Good to know. All right.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, all right. Thanks.
All right. Okay, here's a good one. What song would you play during a rage montage?
Okay, I have the answer to this only because I do have a playlist. And
Yes.
the number one to open it, which tells everybody exactly where I am, is Hit 'em Up by Tupac Shakur.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
respect.
Yes,
Respect.
I mean it says it all
Yeah.
basically.
Yep.
Here's where we are, and here's
Yep.
how I.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah. For me, it's anything Dr. Dre, but particularly off of the Chronic. That
Yeah.
is my
Okay.
jam. I'm aging myself right there,
Right.
but really anybody should love it. I don't care if you're 22. You should know the Chronic. It's like,
Well,
penultimate. So
Right.
yeah.
yeah. All
Totally.
right.
Sick.
Fun. Okay. Who in your life has mastered the art of pushing your buttons?
I mean, seriously.
Let's say that maybe we keep our exes all like besides them.
I mean, besides them and a teenager,
Okay,
Girl, I'm
that's
going
fair.
for my ex. It's
Yeah.
definitely
All
it's
right. All right.
definitely Mr. Pace. Yeah.
I would say
Oh.
yes. And what I agree with that. And what I find is when I'm being triggered by something
Mm-hmm.
he's saying, or especially for me, I know how I work best when it comes to communication. And I work best talking to you one on one,
Right.
right? Because then there's no room for misinterpretation. And our styles don't match up, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so
That's hard.
he prefers something else, and when he does, I automatically bring this like defensiveness to the table, even if I'm reading something and I'm already irritated. So I
Yeah.
realize it when it happens. But I also realize I'm like, okay, this is actually doing something good for me, because if it's written down, then nobody knows that I am like this way,
Yeah.
and then I can just like put it away and deal with my own feelings at that point.
Yeah. I've definitely learned to like have to step back from my anger. Like not responding, not like just kind of doing like stepping away, taking some deep breaths. And I also found this, I know I'm going down a rabbit hole here, but this is my Gemini energy coming out. Um, I I read in God, why am I blanking on her name? Oh, Gabby Bernstein. One of her, I don't know if any of you read her, but she suggested this exercise when you're in a conversation like this where you're being triggered by the person, is you take your fingertips and you say, peace begins with me. And I don't always remember to do it, but it's like a nice like somatic way that I can also like kind of re-engage with myself like when I'm feeling like I want to go off the rails. So if that helps anybody, that's great. But that was Gabby Birdstein. I read it in one of her books. So
It's
one of
great.
That's
my
really good. I have to say, the one that I learned similarly that I tell clients about all the time is I will say wait in my head, and it stands for why am I talking? Right?
yes. Oh my gosh, I've heard that one too. That's another good one.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
get real clear and make sure that it's not. And look, here's the thing. Rage isn't a bad thing, right?
Right.
Acting on rage, having that, visceral kind of reactive moment, that's the bad thing. That's
Yeah.
what we want to avoid. You want to be able to use that rage and harness it to like dig down to what's underneath it.
Yeah. Because so often it's masking something else, right?
Oh my God,
You
yeah.
know?
Usually masking some sort of anxiety, a fear,
Hmm.
or deep sad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So it's really a good communicator, even though it sucks to experience it.
Nothing easy, right? We all have to
No.
cope with this stuff. And so it requires you to be conscious going through it.
Yeah,
Hmm.
absolutely. Okay. Bethany, you are, yeah, okay. You said Mr. Pace, right? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Got it. All right. Next question. If your anger had a catchphrase, what would it be?
Oh, okay. That's easy. I can't curse on here, can I?
Yeah, you can.
Yeah,
Fuck
go
around
for it.
and find
Yeah.
out. FAFO.
Yeah. I mean, that's what happens.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
a,
That's the energy inside. You know what I mean? If like literally because I think I'm a little sensitive and always have been through my life because I really pride myself on trying to be a kind person, right?
mhm.
But sometimes people mistake kindness for pushover.
Oh,
And
so
I'm
true.
originally from New York, so it's like scratch the surface and we're in Queens. You know what
Yes.
I mean?
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
great.
Can you say the question again? Because I had it and then I got distracted.
Yeah. If your anger had a catchphrase, what would it be?
Okay, I had a catchphrase.
I feel like that could apply for you too. I'm not going to speak for
I
you,
kn-
but
well,
just
I was
being
gonna
your
say
friends.
it would be like the fuck.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I've said that a lot. Yeah. And then the other one is like, are you okay?
Yeah. Oh, I
Oh,
love
Are
that's a good
you
one.
okay?
That's really good.
Yeah, that's probably the one. I say that to the kids. I say that
You
to
say
my
that all the
ex
time.
girl. Right. I was about to say I say that at least once a day. I've said it probably 5 times a day. Are you okay?
Yeah.
oh,
No,
I love
seriously.
that one.
Yeah.
That's a great
With
one.
with the look. You have to have the look too.
Oh,
Like
Oh yeah.
yeah. I
tilt
mean,
your
that's
head to
totally
the
editing.
side.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're
Glasses down.
committed to it.
Right.
Yeah.
This
Uh-huh.
like what? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Absolutely.
Come again?
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. I think that's mine probably. Is some
Mm-hmm.
like now that we're talking about this, I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. Like I feel like that's probably mine. Like I must have misheard you or I
Yeah.
must have misunderstood.
And Hillary is much nicer than like my middle-aged self. Um Oh, child. Mm-hmm.
That's
Mm-hmm.
because you and I are in a different stage
Yeah.
in our life where we literally have zero fucks to give.
You
Yes.
know what?
Yeah.
I can't wait to get there. I
Yeah.
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
I'm starting. I feel like divorce put me on a fast track to that,
Mm-hmm.
but
Yes.
still like
Mm-hmm.
not totally there, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Over
I think that's
40,
great.
over 50, it's going
Yeah,
down.
I still give some,
No,
sadly,
but that
but
and that's just it. You just mentioning the fact that divorce was like the beginning of you opening up that possibility for yourself. And I think that, that is very aware of you to say because if you are mindfully going through the divorce process, right, not just suppressing, but dealing with your shit, it really is an opportunity to reconnect with yourself, to do some deep introspection, to
yeah.
get you to that place eventually for real growth and real healing. So I say, yay,
Yeah.
you're on the
No,
path.
I mean, I would much rather be here than be where I was for sure. Like for multitude of reasons,
Yeah,
but yes, it definitely has jolted me into, you know, an awareness that I didn't have before.
I
And
love
one of those is the fucks that you shouldn't give. I'm learning about them.
it. Yeah,
So I'm
Yeah.
here
Well,
for it.
Alex, your comment was, I think, a really good segue into one of our like questions for you, which is like, how did working through your shit, like, how did anger show up for you in your own divorce? You know, and then maybe even tying that into how you decided to become the divorce planner, because I feel like that was a productive way that you maybe mentioned some of it. So yeah, could you just talk a little bit about how your divorce, your anger journey?
Yes. Oh my gosh, that's such a good question. So, when the shit kind of hit the fan, and usually I was in a long-term relationship, right? So there's usually a couple years where you're not sure what's going on and things are going back and forth. But when it really kind of came to that point where I realized all of a sudden I was like, wait, this isn't good enough for me. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I realized that like I didn't know what was next. I had never been through a divorce before. I had really young kids. You're already in survival mode, right?
Oh my
Like,
gosh, totally.
yeah, this part of your relationship has not been going well for a long time. You're disconnected. I was disconnected, compartmentalizing myself to a certain extent, and overwhelmed, right? Like with fear. But like for me to get to that place of this doesn't work for me anymore was like that anger starting to bubble up in a good way. So I
Hmm.
it, right? Instead of like doing or railing against things I had no control over, I threw myself into what I had control over. And that was to start to prepare for what was going to be next. And what
Yeah.
next was me eventually meeting with a divorce attorney just to get some general information. So, I mean, that was really kind of like the foundation of the divorce planner where it came from, because my other walk of life is I'm a television and film producer. So I do major project management, like on a huge
Hmm.
scale. So I'm juggling tons of paperwork. I'm dealing with negotiation. I'm dealing with big budgets. And I just applied that skill set
Hmm.
to preparing myself for divorce, getting my hands on everything I needed, writing down my own questions, and really crunching the numbers of my life, because I found that a lot of the anxiety I was having, the big anxiety, was about money. It was
Yeah.
about my kids. So that was one way. And on the other side, I tapped into emotionally what was going on with me. And so then it's a little different now, but then like I wrote a letter to my future self, like as if I was a
I
year
love that.
out of it. You know what I mean? And I still have the letter.
Oh,
But that
It's so
really
cool.
helped me focus those emotions in a way that wasn't detrimental to myself. And it's really easy when you're in the throes of it to want to get carried away. A lot of people numb out, and
Hmm.
food, booze, weed, online shopping, whatever it is. But
Yeah.
focusing to a productive place for anybody else who's joining us is the way to go.
Yeah, it's so true. And kudos to you for like taking the bull by the horns, even though like I know sometimes we feel like, at least for me, I'm speaking for myself, like the small steps like don't feel as productive, but really those are like the foundational pieces. Like those are sometimes the bravest steps that you can take. And, it's really, I think what I've learned is it's really just a series of small steps, like just consistent small steps for most things in life, um, including divorce, which is the biggest project you'll probably ever manage, right? On your in your personal life,
Oh my
or one of them.
Oh,
yeah.
huge, huge. Basically, you're taking, like, your lives are already busy, right? Like,
Yeah.
you're working inside the home, outside the home. You could be raising kids. You're dealing with a household. You're dealing with normal stuff. And then you add on a divorce on top of it. You're adding on another 5 jobs because you
Oh my
need to
gosh, so
number
true.
cruncher. You have to go through a legal proceeding, which, by the way, like, no better time in your life to go through a legal proceeding than when you're
Of
completely
course.
like, great, I'm ready. You
Right.
know, all the time it, a divorce is a dissolution of a partnership agreement, just like you
It
have a
really
partnership
is.
agreement in business. But it's hard to see it that way when all those big feelings are coming up.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And, I think that it's one of those things where we know people are going through it and we know it's happening, and, but it's still there. That's that stigma too that can stop us in so many ways, which I think most of us know about, that have been are going through it or have gone through it. So I think that's, another reason why having people like you who are putting out resources to just really help people focus in on those, taking those steps, those concrete steps to move forward is really, really critical and
Right.
crucial.
And I think the other interesting thing about like divorce rage is that sometimes it can come from other people, like from even
Oh,
outside of
yes. Oh my
you, right? Like
gosh.
people, I'm thinking about, sometimes our family members, like they're
Mhm.
angrier than we are, or like their anger, like is starting to seep into us, but like we are like, we don't need that. We don't
Oh my
actually need that.
gosh.
So
Yes.
find your chill, mom. Find your chill.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh my
No,
gosh.
that go
Yeah, go
ahead.
ahead. No, I was just
No,
saying, I remember talking to my therapist about that and her talking about it being like a target. Like you and your ex are at the center of the target, and then all these other people are like circling the target. And it's like you kind of have to just like focus in on your area, but it's so hard not to be impacted by everybody else's emotions and for them not to be impacted by it themselves. Cause that's also hard, like to see somebody you love like going through that. And I get that, but I know that I struggled with other people being mad on my behalf very often.
I like my head was nodding like it was going to fall off my neck because I think what a lot of people don't understand if they haven't been through it is when you are sharing the news of what's going on with friends and family and coworkers alike, what most people don't realize is then all of a sudden you're taking care of them, right? And you're
Yes. Oh,
in
yeah.
a vulnerable place. And when people have unfiltered reactions, and there are many different reactions, it could be disappointment or it could be some people will react to it through their own lens of like, oh my God, can I catch it in a way? Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
Did you try, being inquisitive a little more than necessary because they're trying to suss out, well, what happened to you? Can it happen to me? And it's hard because you're still in the midst of it.
Yeah.
So I always suggest, even though it's still going to happen for people, if you're sharing big news like that, send a text message, send an email, send a DM
Mm-hmm.
is with the news so that you give people time to process. It's at least a little bit of a buffer. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Just so it's because otherwise it's a huge emotional burden for you when you're already feeling really raw.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
That's a really, really good piece of advice, Alex. So thank you. Yeah, to like prepare people. And try to help them understand what it means to support you in a way, or like again, what a boundary is that is going to help you. I'm not well, and this is why we love scripts so much, right? Because scripts are also a great. You got to script things before you go into it. Another reason why we just love Alex being the divorce planner, because planning is everything. Like you just know that this conversation is probably going to come up at Thanksgiving dinner.
Oh,
Okay, so, to prepare for that, and to manage your anger, like whatever other emotion is like bubbling under the surface, we always feel really strongly about know your talking points when you go in
Mm-hmm.
there, make it clear what you're going to entertain, what you're not going to entertain, use humor with it, be straightforward, however you want to, but the addition of like letting people know in advance. I really love that. So, and this is a great segue. It's funny how these things just pop up because now we're into the next question, which is, can you talk a little bit about the work you do with your clients and maybe give a compare contrast example, right? Of like someone who maybe was derailed by anger, versus someone who, was able to put it in the right place. Could be the same person that maybe came to you angry rather, and disorganized, and then they found their way through that to be able to be focused on what they needed to do, because this is not a time for us to be like, not on our A game. Or again, with anger having the keys to the car. That's just not a good thing. So can you talk us through like what that has looked like for you working with people that probably come to you angry and disorganized?
yeah. I love that you keep bringing up all of the emotions in the car because it makes me think Inside Out, which is such a great,
Yes.
right? Especially when we're talking about this and you're like, oh my God, we're grown ups. If you're a grown up, especially if you're going through like big feelings, watch the movie again because the big reminder is you're in charge of your feelings. You need to feel your feelings, but you're in charge of how you act out. And kind of circling back to your question, this isn't the time. This is like the foundation of like my whole coaching program is there's an emotional side to divorce and there's a business side. And you have to separate the two, but you have to both at the same time because everything about the business side is emotionally triggering, right? So
Yes.
if you are, focusing on just letting those big emotions of anger and rage drive you, you are going to be putting yourself in the worst position during a time that really needs your attention. Because again, you're going through the dissolution of a partnership agreement. That's the legal thing that you're doing. That's what the divorce part is. So if you aren't actively, preparing, but instead you're letting emotions blind you, you're not going to be a great negotiator. You're not going to make smart decisions. You're not going to be able to either jumpstart the healing process for yourself. Because, what we were talking about earlier is rage is an indicator that something else is going on, right? And so it's really the work on top of all the other work at the time that you need to be doing to identify what that is. Is it fear? Is it complete sadness? Is it shame? Which goes back to, these ideas of expectations, right? And it's all part of the normal process. But this is like what I was saying earlier. It's like, it's the most insane thing. You have to go through this legal proceeding while you're dealing with this big emotional thing, and so more than anything, you want to put yourself in the best position. Always be proactive and not reactive. And reactive is letting yourself act on those feelings without doing what we talked about, which is giving yourself some tools to be able to, slow that runaway stagecoach of anger or whatever, or rage, so that you can be more mindful going through the process and get to the other side, already having gone through your divorce, being really aware of every decision you're making, how it is going to affect you, but putting your emotions in the proper bucket so that they don't kind of trip you up.
Yeah, I love that. I love putting them in the bucket. Like that's another like I love like literal terms, like because it sometimes helps you to actually just visualize it.
Yeah.
It feels more manageable that way somehow.
I remember a colleague of mine, a divorce mediator, like who I adore, Susan Guthrie, who, hosts Beyond, told me a story once that she ran into a client like 20 years after she represented her in divorce.
Wow.
And I know, right? It was like, oh my gosh, how have you been? How are you doing? And the person launched into berating their ex. And after 20 years, they were still deep in anger. And yeah, it's intense. Your mind, what you give space to in your mind is literally your life.
Yes, it's
Right?
your reality.
Is your reality. So, if somebody out there is feeling a little overwhelmed by the bigger feelings, that's okay. That's normal. You just need to learn ways to be able to take control of it so that it doesn't take control of you. And also, mindfulness really can help in that regard too.
Yeah, yeah. We just had a comment from someone who was talking about how they are feeling really stuck in 20 years down the drain and, anger about that. And, a lot of people in the comments and what I would encourage too is like looking forward, right? That's the other beauty of like planning in a way. Like it's like forward momentum really for what's ahead. And so I don't know, I just wanted to acknowledge that because the
Well,
person said something.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, that was a great thing to highlight because I think it's just about kind of a perspective shift. You can't beat yourself up for something you did because at the time you made the best decision based on the information you had. You were a different
So
version of,
true.
and you actually couldn't get to the point where you are today had you not gone through all that. And the truth of the matter is we pick people for a reason, and some for a reason, some for a season. This is like one of my favorite things because as I was saying before about this is a really opportunity for some deep introspection to reconnect with yourself, right? To dig into those feelings, to get underneath and to start to make peace with, maybe patterns that you've exhibited when you've made relationship choices. But instead of like thinking of it's 20 years that are lost, I mean, honestly, I would look for the great things in that. Like, what if that never happened? You never got to this point. This is a different opportunity. Life is about change. I will tell you that 100%.
Right, Bethany? Yeah.
I always say change is the only constant.
Yes.
It doesn't make it easier necessarily, but when I find myself sort of like up against the wall, like frustrated because I have to change in some way, it's like, Bethany, this is the only constant. your life has
Life.
been a series of changing from, a toddler to a teenager and on and on and on, watching that happen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and thank goodness for that too, right? Like I think that sometimes we get caught up on like the sad parts of change, which are also really real. It's so bittersweet, but there are so many reasons to like embrace it and to look forward. And I kind of reminds me to go back to your what you mentioned earlier when you were doing planning for your own divorce is writing that letter to yourself like a year from now. Like where do I want to be a year from now? Like what or whatever the, however you want to structure it. But it's such a powerful exercise that is something that I've never done before, but I started to do like when I was healing from divorce because it gives you like an actual like benchmark and it's such a cool way to
You're
do
giving
it.
a roadmap. One of the first things I do with clients or, for anybody who's with us, my blog is packed with all this. Like, so,
Hmm.
if
Yeah.
we're not working together, it's okay. You have access to everything. But one of the first things I do is we establish their divorce goals and priorities,
Hmm.
so their way of, again, taking your power back a bit, tapping into what's underneath this and putting your focus, as you said, on something that is within your control. I also love to remind, clients and everybody, it's like, you are the star of your movie. This is
Yes.
your
You're the
movie.
main character.
You
Yep.
are the character. So when you view it in those terms, think about what is that movie, which is that
Hmm.
future, right? Like when you think down the
I
road,
love
is
that.
it an indie rom-com? Is it
Yeah. Ooh.
baby boom? What is, I had to say it, Diane.
Yeah. Right.
Is it something's got to give?
Hmm.
Whatever it is, let that be your spirit animal and embrace that. And remember, when you are being stagnant or when you shrink yourself in your own life and think, well, I just wanted things to be the same, are you going to watch that movie? I love that.
Yeah.
Do it for the plot, do it for the growth, because there is
Yes.
back, right? And at the end, when you are 90 years old, you want to turn around and say, you never want to say, I wish I had. I'd rather get there and say, I'm so glad I tried.
Yes,
Mhm.
absolutely. Such good advice. Like not even just for divorce, but just life in general. But I think that divorce is, like we've been talking about, it's one of those periods that really brings to the forefront all these things and kind of puts you on the fast track for, really facing some things that maybe you hadn't faced for, many years. I speaking from personal experience
Oh my
with
God.
that.
100% the same. And that's the other part of when you're in the infancy stages when you're going through the divorce emotionally still. And so it's like part of you is still dealing with stuff from the past. And usually, I'm sorry, when you get to a point where you're going through a divorce, probably the communication and the dynamic has been a little toxic. Do you know what I mean?
Hmm.
You've been locked into these unhealthy rage inducing patterns, not feeling heard, not feeling seen. Maybe I like to say somebody's always trying to make a word salad with you. Those people who are
Oh
like
yes.
trying to
Oh
communicate
yes.
and they're like, oh,
Yeah.
you said the word blah, blah, blah. And you're like, what are you talking about? This isn't
Right.
word. But so being able to be kind to yourself while you're going through it too, from my own personal experience, I have to say that part of the healing experience is making peace with the light bits of yourself and the shadowy bits with yourself.
Yes.
And
Mm.
going back to the top when we were talking about those societal expectations or what you think, is acceptable and what's not, really learning to accept all of you as
Hmm.
full and more than good enough, is a part of the process too, and letting go. And sometimes when we have big feelings like rage come up, it can make you want to shrink. But again, it is it's telling you something. There's the very famous book, The Body Keeps Score, right? So
Yes.
if you're not dealing with those feelings in a way that is going to help you get to the real root, they're going to come out in other ways. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Just the way it is, whether it's physical manifestation, whether it's mental health manifestation, you're going to see relationships, not your marriage, but other relationships in your break down because you're not dealing with your shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, that is a great book, The Body Keeps the Score. And you touched on something, leading into that, which is, at least for me, again, I guess I'll use I statements, but I was angry for a long time being married. Like, yeah, I remember visceral anger probably around year 13,
Mm-hmm.
and I was going to just stay for the kids, it's like, okay, I can make it. but until I realized there's a 7-year age gap between my kids, and when, one turned 18, I was still going to have 7 years to go. And I was like, okay, I don't think I can do that. But the rage was literally simmering for years, and then the divorce just created even more anger for all the shenanigans that took place. But that, I mean, the impact on your body and your health, like, it can't be understated, really, truly, how rage and anger can really start to deteriorate your health
Yeah.
at some point. So it's another selfish way, not necessarily selfish, but a way to reframe it in terms of what you need
Mhm.
in order to be healthy and maybe plan the best future that you can.
Mhm.
You want your health to be part of that. And so the anger is not necessarily going to serve that, again, unless there's a productive way it's being used. But so important. Glad that you brought that book up, Alex.
No, it's a great one. And it also, you know, what you were saying is so true because that is you carving out and prioritizing yourself. That's about
Yes.
and making sure that when you're having those big feelings and you are facing them, you're giving yourself the support you need. And I always talk to clients about the fact that self-care during divorce is critical
Hmm.
before, during, and after, because those are they work in conjunction with you working through those feelings. When you're
Mhm.
feeding into yourself with, the stuff we always hear about, right? Journaling, practicing mindfulness, being able to get out into nature to experience some awe. I don't care if it's a walk in your local park or if you're hiking, Kilimanjaro. It doesn't matter. It's the little
Yeah.
things. Doing 20 minutes of some sort of exercise, a couple of times a week, those are things that are going to help you while you're navigating all those big feelings so that you're not depleted, but you're actually building strength and resilience so that you can go through the journey and not ignore what needs to get done.
Yeah. Yeah. Because that it all has to be acknowledged.
Yeah.
It's easy to want to put things on the back burner. I'll get to that later, because this divorce it's everything, and it's all consuming, because it is often so complicated. But throwing things on the back burner really often comes back to really bite you in the end.
100%.
Hmm.
There is no good time. There is no
No,
perfect start the process. You just
so
have,
true.
and to what you were saying earlier, Hillary, it's like you just have to take the one small step.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Um, yeah, and and it doesn't matter how small it is, right?
Yeah.
It's just once you kind of like start taking one, you just automatically,
Yeah.
what's the saying? Like, you don't have to see the whole staircase, you just have to see the first step.
Yeah.
Uh, the amount of motivational quotes I've like clocked in my brain after going through divorce, that's
You're like
another
my
thing.
you're my real life Instagram. I can scroll through you for
Yes, yes,
Yes,
I will spit
yes.
one out. I'll find
Hillary is
one.
like a Kindle. She's all of that, like wrapped
Yeah,
into one. It's the best friend to have, honestly.
yeah.
So, well, before we wrap up, we do want to ask you two questions. One, when are you going to read this letter to your future self? Or
Oh,
yeah.
that's
Yeah, I
a
want to know.
good question. I don't know the answer to that. I know. I mean, I kind of feel like even though I know where it is, I don't know. I'm not
Oh.
I can tell you that not yet. If I get to a point where I'm ready, I'll circle back and let you know. But I think it was more about the doing and the putting it and
Okay.
which helped me kind of outline certain goals and priorities for myself. And I just feel like I'm so grateful. I kind of feel emotional about it right now, but I'm so grateful to myself that I did it because I feel like I surpassed it.
Mm.
But it
Yes.
was because of that it gave me, that roadmap, that North Star to be able to follow.
Yes. I love
Mhm.
that. I
Mhm.
love that.
It's beautiful. I didn't mean to initiate crying, but I'm here for it. We're here for all the vulnerability and the authenticity. And I think really that's a beautiful response. And related to that, just what would you share with people here that are maybe unable to see their future self because of rage or other things clouding that view? Like what nugget would you give them to hold on to get to that future self?
That's such a good question. That is a heavy and good question. Sometimes when you're in the thick of it, it's hard to even accept that there could be something beyond what you're feeling, because when you've been in a place where you have that kind of like leading you,
Hmm.
there's almost a comfort to it. You
Mm-hmm.
know, we get comfortable even with the not so great stuff. So it's like you just, all it takes is adding one thing, or even acknowledging to yourself, like, I'm tired of carrying this burden. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, doesn't like, just ask yourself some questions. Am I really living the most authentic version of my life and who I am or who I want to be? And if that answer is no, then then to ask yourself the next question. So just start small. And also, going back to the self-care stuff, implement some stuff for yourself just to see how you're feeling. Change your perspective. Start doing, things that you normally wouldn't do. Take a different route, on a walk or to work or whatever it is, and reach out, build community, reach out
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
to people who might be struggling in whatever way, and see if there's a group that you can be a part of. But more than anything, just be really kind to yourself and realize that that's a temporary stage in your life. It is absolutely within your control to do something about it, change the trajectory of your life. And it just takes one small step.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love that.
That's beautiful, Alex. Thank you for saying that. I mean, because you really, by doing that, you're caring for your future self,
Yeah.
right? It's like
You
you're paying
are.
it forward to that future self, which means I'm invested in him or her, and I'm invested in who that person's going to be. And it's going to be different from what I am in this moment. And that is, a really beautiful present way to be.
It might
Hmm.
be a hard thing to kind of do that mindset. There are some great like cognitive brain tips and tricks of like what to do. Challenging the narrative that you're telling yourself, sometimes push back and question it, like, where does that come from? Why am I doing that? Why am I speaking that way to myself? And also, I love the best friend test, which is, would I speak to my best friend this way?
Mm,
Right? And
yes.
if there's no, then what would I say? So those two things, challenging the narrative, reframing it, asking yourself, would I speak to somebody else the way I'm speaking to myself now? And then just trying to be as kind to yourself as possible.
Mhm.
You don't need to pile on, but
You
that's
know.
Oh.
part of a pattern that we've been in for a long time. And it's going to take a while to come under it. But you literally, the reason caterpillars go into a cocoon is to become a butterfly.
Yes, absolutely.
Ability to, metamorphosize and evolve in the same way. And there is a beautiful life waiting for you. And yes, every person has the power to be able to create that.
Yes, absolutely. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing all of these like wonderful nuggets of wisdom and just for giving everybody some hope and some tangible steps to take. And so, can you share with us again where everybody can find you?
Oh yeah, sure, of course. Number. No, if you're on, find me at the.divorce.planner, or you can go to my website, which is www.thedivorceplanner.net, because the others were taken.
Yep.
Um, yeah, or if you email me at alex@thedivorceplanner.net, you're going to get me and I'll respond.
Yay. Well,
Thank you
thank
Well,
so much for
you.
having me. This has been a great conversation.
Oh my gosh, I know.
thank
I
you
feel
so
like we could
much.
keep going, but
I
I
know,
mean,
I
I could
know.
talk about
That's
this
how
for
we felt
hours.
about Alex from the beginning. But this is going
Yes.
to be a great replay to watch. I'm looking forward to going back to it actually because there's a lot there about caring for ourselves, and we don't, because we're not taught this. We really
No.
are not. From the early ages, we're kind of taught to care for others and all of those things. But caring for ourselves is one, acknowledging that all the emotions exist, and we should be kind to ourselves. And so that's what I think I'm going to love the most about this conversation when I go back and watch it. And thank you, Alex, for being the light and the hope
Yes.
that you are, because the world is a better place because you're in it.
Yes, it
It's just
truly
that
is.
true.
I
Hmm.
feel the same way, you guys. Thank you so
Oh,
much.
thank you. Yeah.
And
And
thank
Thank
one
you
other,
you.
for joined us.
Yeah. And one other thing too that like I just feel like compelled to add is that taking care of ourselves is like one of the best ways that we can also take care of other people, right? Because when we're well taken care of, like by ourselves and just we're feeling good, we can put out more good in the world. And I just think that that is such that was a really pivotal and really important reframe that I have learned to adapt over the years. Is like it's that's how I'm going to be a better mom. That's how I'm going to be a better friend. That's how I'm going to be just a better human. Is if I'm well taken care of. So
That's exactly right. Happy mom equals happy kids, but also that
yes,
energy. Remember when your kids, if for anybody who out there are kids, when they were napping, when they were taking a nap, and when they napped, then they slept better at night. Like sleeping
absolutely. Yeah.
self the self-kindness and that kind of energy creates more of it around you too. And I think
Yes.
that's a way to sum it all up.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, again, thank you so much for being here and for being a lighthouse. And, hopefully we'll do this again very soon.
I would love to. Thank you to everybody.
Yes.
Have a good night.
I
Yeah,
know.
thank you.
Bye. Bye,
Bye,
friend. We love you.
everybody. Thank
Bye.
Bye.
you. Take care.